The ship came out of faster-than-light travel with a soft hum. Commander Vethra stood at the viewing window and looked at the human space station floating in the darkness. It was called Earth Station Horizon. It was not a very big station. It was not a very important station. But Vethra had orders to inspect it, so here he was. Vethra was a Kalari. His people were tall and thin. They had 4 arms and skin the color of dark blue water. Their eyes were large and yellow, and they could see in the dark very well. Vethra had served in the unified galactic fleet for 47 cycles. He had fought in 3 wars. He had received medals for bravery. He was respected by everyone who knew him. But today, he felt strange. Not scared. A Kalari commander did not feel scared. But there was something in his stomach that felt like worry. It was because of the humans. Vethra had heard many stories about humans. Every species in the galaxy had stories about humans. They were a young species. They had only been traveling between stars for about 200 of their years. That was nothing. The Kalari had been in space for 12,000 cycles. The humans were babies compared to them. But the stories about humans were not normal stories. Other species talked about how humans could run for hours without stopping. They talked about how humans would bond with anything. Machines, animals, even rocks, if the rock had an interesting shape. They talked about how humans did not give up, ever, even when giving up was the smart thing to do. And they talked about the children. Human children were called many things across the galaxy. Cubs, younglings, small chaos agents. The Kalari called them Velkreth, which roughly meant tiny storms that cannot be controlled. Vethra did not fully believe the stories about human children. Surely they were exaggerated. Children were children. How dangerous could they be? His second officer, a young Kalari named Thel, walked up beside him. "Commander, we are ready to dock," Thel said. "Good. What do we know about this station?" Thel looked at his datapad. "Earth Station Horizon. Crew of 147 humans. Built for long-range research and communication relay. Currently on extended posting. Families are permitted." Vethra's 4 hands tightened slightly. "Families?" "Yes, Commander. Approximately 30 crew members have family units aboard, including offspring." There was. The worry in Vethra's stomach grew a little bigger. "How many offspring?" Thel checked his data. 12, Commander. Ages ranging from 3 human years to 15 human years. Vethra was quiet for a moment. Then he straightened his back. He was being foolish. They were children. He had faced plasma cannons. He had survived the siege of Nethka, where his ship had burned around him, and he had still led his crew to victory. He would not be worried about small humans. "Begin docking procedures," he said. The ship connected to the station with a soft click. Vethra walked through the airlock and into Earth Station Horizon. The air was different here, warmer. It smelled like food and cleaning, chemicals and something sweet that he could not name. A human was waiting for him. She was shorter than him. Most humans were shorter than Kalari. She had black hair that was tied behind her head and brown eyes that seemed to study him carefully. She wore a gray uniform with a small symbol on her chest. The symbol showed Earth with a ring around it. "Commander Vethra," she said. "Welcome to Earth Station Horizon. I am Lieutenant Park Yuna. I will be your liaison during your inspection." She did something with her face. Her lips curved upward and showed her teeth slightly. Vethra knew this was called a smile. Humans did it to show they were friendly. But to a Kalari, showing teeth usually meant you wanted to bite something. Vethra had to remind himself that the human was not threatening him. "Lieutenant Park," he said, using her family name first, as was human custom. "Thank you for receiving me. Please, call me Yuna. We are not very formal here. Vethra nodded slowly. Humans and their strange social customs. Una began walking, and Vethra followed. The station quarters were clean, but lived in. There were small decorations on some of the walls. Pictures drawn by children. A plant in a pot. A sign that said, 167 days without an incident, with the number written on paper that could be changed. What kind of incidents? Vethra asked, pointing at the sign. Una laughed. It was a strange sound, like small explosions of air. Oh, nothing serious. Engineering accidents. Someone forgetting to close an airlock properly. The children flooding the bathroom that one time. The children flooded a bathroom? They were trying to make a swimming pool. It was creative problem solving, really. Vethra did not think flooding a bathroom was creative. He thought it was concerning, but he said nothing. They passed a large window that looked into a room. Inside, Vethra could see humans exercising. Some were running on machines. Some were lifting heavy things. One very large human was doing something that involved hanging from a bar and pulling himself up over and over again. Your crew maintains physical fitness, Vethra observed. We have to, Una said. Humans get sick if we do not move enough. Our bodies need exercise or they start to fall apart. It is inconvenient, honestly. This was another thing Vethra had heard about humans. Their bodies were strangely fragile and strangely strong at the same time. They could survive injuries that would kill other species. But they also needed constant maintenance. Food, water, sleep, exercise, social interaction. Humans were high-maintenance creatures. They turned a corner, and Vethra heard something. A high-pitched sound. Several high-pitched sounds, actually. And thumping. And what sounded like a small explosion. He stopped walking. What is that noise? Una listened for a moment. Then she smiled again. That teeth-showing expression that still made Vethra uncomfortable. That would be the children, she said. They are in the recreation bay. Playing. Playing, Vethra repeated. The word felt strange in his mouth. Yes, it is what human children do. They play. It helps them learn and grow and develop social skills. It sounds like a battle. Una laughed again. Sometimes it is. Do you want to see? Vethra thought about saying no. Every instinct told him to say no. But he was here to inspect the station. All of the station. He could not let a room full of small humans stop him from doing his duty. Yes, he said. Show me. Una led him toward the recreation bay. With each step, the sounds grew louder. Vethra could hear voices now. Small voices. Shouting about something. Commands being given. Someone was laughing. Someone else was making a noise that sounded like an engine. They reached the door. Una pressed a button and it slid open. Vethra looked inside, and he understood, finally, why the galaxy feared human children. The recreation bay was not a large room. It had some chairs, a big window that showed the stars outside, exercise equipment in one corner, a shelf with books and games. It was a simple room, but in the middle of the room, there was chaos. 3 small humans were gathered around a large box. It was a cargo container, the kind used to ship supplies between stations. It was made of thick brown material that humans called cardboard. It was empty. Just a box. Nothing special about it at all, Dodd, except that it was clearly not just a box anymore. The children had drawn on it, with colored markers. There were buttons and screens and dials covering every surface. Lines and circles and symbols that meant nothing but clearly meant everything to the small humans. They had cut a hole in one side and covered it with clear plastic. A window. They had attached a blanket to the top with tape. A flag, maybe, or a roof. One child was inside the box. He was a boy, maybe 9 or 10 years old. He had messy black hair and a serious face. He was speaking into a plastic cup. "This is Captain Kim De-yoon of the starship Thunder Dragon," he announced. "We are entering enemy space. All crew to battle stations." A girl outside the box saluted. She was smaller than the boy, maybe 7 years old. She had her hair in 2 ponytails, and she was holding a stick that had been wrapped in shiny tape. "Chief Engineer Lee So-mi reporting, Captain," she said. "Engines are at full power. We are ready for anything." The third child was the smallest, a boy who could not be more than 5 years old. He was sitting on the floor next to the box with his eyes closed. He was making a noise with his mouth. Vrrrrm. Vethra stared at him. "What is that child doing?" "That is Choi Hae-jun," Yuna said. "He is being the engine." "He is being the engine?" "Yes, every ship needs an engine." Hae-jun is very committed to his role. Ho-de-suro. He has been making that sound for almost an hour. Vethra watched the small human. The child had not opened his eyes. He had not moved. He just sat there, making engine noises, completely dedicated to his imaginary task. It was disturbing and impressive at the same time. "This is the plane you mentioned?" Vethra asked. "This is the plane I mentioned," Yuna confirmed. Vethra tried to understand what he was seeing. The children had taken an empty box. A piece of garbage, really? And they had turned it into a spaceship. Not a real spaceship. An imaginary spaceship. They were pretending. The Kalari did not pretend. Not like this. Kalari children learned through practice and study. They trained. They prepared. They did not sit in boxes and make noise with their mouths. "Why do they do this?" Vethra asked. "It is how human children learn," Yuna explained. "When they pretend, their brains practice for real situations. Do-hyun is learning leadership. So-mi is learning problem solving. Hae-jun is learning patience, I think. He has been that engine for a very long time. But they know it is not real. Of course they know. That is not the point. The point is that it feels real to them. In their minds, they are really on a spaceship. They are really having an adventure. The box is just a tool to help their imagination." Vethra shook his head slowly. This was strange. Very strange. But also, he had to admit, somewhat clever. Human children taught themselves by creating fake worlds inside their heads. It was inefficient. But it was also creative. The boy in the box, Do-hyun, suddenly stopped talking. He had seen Vethra standing in the doorway. His eyes went wide. "Alien!" he shouted. The other 2 children immediately looked at Vethra. So-mi gripped her stick tighter. Hae-jun stopped making engine noises. The room became very quiet. Vethra stood very still. He was not sure what to do. The children were staring at him like he was the most interesting thing they had ever seen. "I am Kalari," he said carefully. "I am Commander Vethra of the Unified Galactic Fleet. I am here on a diplomatic mission." Do-hyun climbed out of the box. He walked toward Vethra slowly, studying him with intense eyes. He walked in a circle around the tall alien, looking at his 4 arms, his blue skin, his yellow eyes. "You have 4 arms," Do-hyun said. "Yes. Can you use them all at the same time?" "Yes, that is so cool." Vethra blinked. He had been called many things in his military career. Brave, honorable, terrifying. He had never been called cool. So-mi walked up beside Do-hyun. She was still holding her stick. "Are you a good alien or a bad alien?" she asked. "I am a diplomatic alien," Vethra said. "I am here to inspect your station." "That is not an answer," So-mi said. Her eyes were sharp, suspicious. Good aliens help people. Bad aliens try to take over planets. Which one are you? Vethra looked at Yuna for help. Yuna was smiling and said nothing. I am a good alien, Vethra said, finally. So I thought about this. Then she nodded. Okay, but we are watching you. Ajin had walked over now too. He was the smallest of the three. He looked up at Vethra with huge brown eyes. Then he reached out and touched one of Vethra's lower arms. Your skin is bumpy, Ajin said. Those are scales, Vethra explained. Like a fish. I like fish. I have a fish at home on Earth. His name is Babo. That means stupid in Korean. My dad named him. Vethra did not know how to respond to this information. He simply nodded. Duhai and walked back to the cardboard box. He stood beside it proudly, like a captain standing beside his real ship. This is the Thunder Dragon, he announced. It is the fastest ship in the galaxy. We are on a mission to explore new planets and fight bad guys. It is a box, Vethra said. All three children gasped. Yuna put her hand over her face. It is not just a box, Doyun said. His voice was offended. Deeply offended. It is a starship, the most powerful starship ever built. It has laser cannons and shields and a hyperdrive engine. Roar, Hajun added, supporting his captain. Somi pointed her stick at Vethra. You cannot insult our ship. That is rude. Vethra realized he had made an error. A diplomatic error. He had insulted the children's imaginary vessel. In their minds, he had just said something very offensive. I apologize, he said quickly. I can see now that it is clearly a very impressive starship. The Thunder Dragon, you said? Do-hyun nodded, slightly less offended now. The drawings on the outside are very detailed, Vethra continued. You have many control systems. Somi designed those, Do-hyun said. She is the best engineer in the fleet. Somi stood up straighter, proud. Vethra looked at the box more carefully. He could see now that the drawings were not random. There was a pattern. Buttons for weapons were grouped together. Navigation controls were near the front. The engine displays were on the bottom, near where Haejun usually sat. The children had thought about this. They had planned their ship. They had worked together to build it. For a cardboard box, it was surprisingly organized. You work well as a team, Vethra said. We have to, Do-hyun replied. Space is dangerous. You cannot survive alone in space. You need a crew you can trust. For a moment, the 9-year-old sounded exactly like a real captain. It was unsettling. Yuna stepped forward. We should continue the inspection, Commander. Unless you want to stay and learn more about the Thunder Dragon? Vethra looked at the children. They were looking back at him with curious eyes, waiting to see what he would do. Perhaps later, he said. I have duties to attend to. You could join our crew, Somi offered suddenly. We need an alien. Every good ship has an alien crew member. You could be our alien expert. You could tell us about other planets. I am a commander of the unified galactic fleet, Vethra said. I cannot join a cardboard ship. The children's faces fell. Even Haejun looked disappointed. Vethra felt something strange. It was almost like guilt, which was ridiculous. He had nothing to feel guilty about. He was simply stating facts. But perhaps, he added, I could visit, after my inspection, to see how your mission is going. The children's faces lit up again. Really? Do-hyun asked. If time permits, Vethra said. Yuna was smiling at him now. A knowing smile that Vethra did not like. He turned and walked toward the door. Behind him, he could hear the children already returning to their game. Crew, we have made first contact with an alien species, Do-hyun announced. He seems friendly, but we should keep watching him, just in case. Ro, Haejun agreed. Vethra walked faster. He had an inspection to complete. He did not have time to think about cardboard boxes and small humans with big imaginations. But somehow, he could not stop thinking about them. The inspection took 3 hours. Vethra walked through every part of the station. He looked at the engineering section. He examined the communication systems. He tested the life support controls. He asked questions. He took notes on his datapad. He did everything a proper inspection required. But his mind kept going back to the recreation bay. Lieutenant Eunice stayed with him the whole time. She answered all his questions politely and efficiently. She was a good officer, professional, calm. But sometimes, when Vethra was not looking at her directly, he could see her smiling to herself. Like she knew something he did not know. Finally, the inspection was complete. Everything was in order. The station was well maintained. The crew was competent. There were no problems to report. "Thank you for your cooperation," Vethra said formally. "I will submit my report to Galactic Command. It will be positive." "We appreciate that, Commander," Eunice said. "Is there anything else you need before you return to your ship?" Vethra should have said no. He should have walked directly to the airlock, returned to his vessel, and left. That was the correct thing to do, but he found himself saying, "I would like to see the recreation bay again." Eunice's smile grew wider. "Of course, Commander. Follow me." They walked through the corridors. Vethra told himself he was simply being thorough. A good inspector examined everything twice. This had nothing to do with the children or their cardboard box. He was just doing his job. They reached the recreation bay. Una opened the door. The scene inside had changed. The cardboard box was still there. But now it had been modified. The children had added more drawings, more buttons, more screens. They had attached strings to the top that hung down like vines. They had placed stuffed animals around the outside like guards, and the children themselves were different now. They were wearing things on their heads, bowls. Heijun had a pot on his head. They were helmets. Space helmets, Yuna explained quietly, in case they need to go outside the ship. Do-hyun saw them enter. His face lit up. The alien is back. All 3 children turned to look at Vethra. They had been waiting for him. He realized with a strange feeling that they had been hoping he would return. "I have completed my inspection," Vethra said. "I wanted to observe your crew one more time before I leave." Do-hyun stepped forward. He was wearing a towel around his shoulders like a cape. A captain's cape, Vethra assumed. "Good timing," Do-hyun said. "We are about to enter dangerous territory. We have received reports of enemy activity in this sector." "What kind of enemies?" Vethra asked, playing along slightly. "Space pirates," Somi said seriously. "They want to steal our cargo. What cargo do you carry?" "Very important things," Heijun said. He was holding a stuffed rabbit. "Like Mr. Fluffy. The pirates cannot have him." "Mr. Fluffy is our most valuable cargo," Do-hyun confirmed. "We would die before we let the pirates take him." Vethra looked at the stuffed rabbit. It was old. One of its ears was bent. There was a stain on its stomach that looked like old food. "It is a good rabbit," Vethra said. Heijun beamed at him. Somi walked up to Vethra with her stick. Her weapon. She studied him carefully. "You know about aliens," she said. "I know about many species," Vethra agreed. "Are there any species that are dangerous? That we should watch out for?" Vethra thought about this. He thought about the wars he had fought, the enemies he had faced, species that had tried to destroy the unified Galactic fleet, dangerous beings with powerful weapons and cruel intentions. But looking at the small, human girl with her stick and her pot helmet, he did not want to talk about those things. "The most dangerous species," he said instead, "are the ones that do not give up. The ones that keep fighting even when they should stop. The ones that are too stubborn to know when they are beaten. Somi nodded seriously. Like humans. Vethra blinked. What? My dad says humans are the most stubborn species in the galaxy. He says we never give up, even when it is stupid. He says that is our superpower. Your superpower? Yes, we do not stop. Ever. No matter what. That is what makes us dangerous. Vethra looked at the small girl. She could not be more than 7 years old. But she spoke with complete confidence. Complete belief in her own species. And Vethra realized that she was right. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest. They were not the smartest. But they did not stop. They kept going. They adapted. They survived. They turned cargo boxes into starships and stuffed rabbits into valuable cargo. They were, in their own strange way, terrifying. Alert! Alert! Doyen suddenly shouted. Pirates approaching. All crew to battle stations. The children scattered. Somi ran to one side of the box and pointed her stick outward. Heijun sat down and started making engine noises again, louder than before. Dohyun climbed into the box and grabbed the plastic cup. Alien! Dohyun shouted at Vethra. We need your help. You have to help us fight the pirates. I am a diplomatic observer, Vethra said. I cannot participate in combat. There is no time for diplomacy. Somi yelled. They are coming. She pointed at the door. Vethra looked. There was nothing there, but the children were acting like an army was approaching. Their faces were serious. Their bodies were tense. In their minds, the danger was real. Please, Heijun said softly. He had stopped making engine noises. He was looking at Vethra with huge, worried eyes. The pirates are scary. We need help. Vethra felt something crack inside him. Some wall of professional distance that he had built over 47 cycles of military service. Looking at the small human child with the pot on his head and the fear in his eyes, Vethra could not say no. Very well, he said. What do you need me to do? The children cheered. You can use the big laser cannon, Dohyun said excitedly. He pointed at a spot on the side of the box where a large circle had been drawn. It is very powerful. Only someone with 4 arms can operate it properly. Vethra walked to the spot. He looked at the circle. It was just a drawing. Markers on cardboard. Nothing real. But the children were watching him expectantly. Slowly, Vethra placed 2 of his hands on the cardboard. He pretended to grip controls that did not exist. The cannon is ready, he announced. Fire. Dohyun commanded. Vethra made a noise. It was supposed to sound like a laser. It sounded more like a cough. The children stared at him. That was bad, Somi said honestly. I am not experienced in laser noises, Vethra admitted. It goes like this, Heijun said. Pew 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 pew. Pew pew, Vethra tried. Louder. Pew pew. Better. Dohyun approved. Keep firing. The pirates are everywhere. And so Commander Vethra of the Unified Galactic Fleet, decorated war hero, survivor of the siege of Nethka, found himself standing next to a cardboard box shouting pew pew at invisible pirates. Lieutenant Yuna had taken out her personal recording device. She was filming everything. This is for the historical record, she said when Vethra glared at her. Delete that, he demanded. I do not think I will. Pew pew, Heijun shouted. More firing. They are getting closer. Vethra turned back to his imaginary cannon. He had a battle to fight. In the background, Yuna's recording device captured everything. Every shout, every laser noise, every moment of a Kilari commander losing his dignity to 3 human children and a cardboard box. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Vethra realized he was enjoying himself. That was perhaps the most terrifying thing of all. The battle lasted 15 minutes. By the end, the invisible pirates had been defeated. The Thunder Dragon was safe. Mr. Fluffy the rabbit was secure. And Commander Vethra had shouted pew pew more times than he could count. He was tired. His throat hurt from making laser noises. His legs ached from standing in one position. But he also felt something strange. Something he had not felt in a long time. He felt happy. Great victory! Do-hyun announced from inside the box. The pirates have run away. We are heroes. Somi pumped her fist in the air. Haeju made one final engine noise, then collapsed on the floor, exhausted from his work. The alien was very helpful, Somi said, looking at Vethra with new respect. His laser cannon destroyed many pirate ships. At least 12, Do-hyun confirmed. Maybe more. We should give him a medal. We do not have medals, Somi pointed out. We can make one. Do-hyun jumped out of the box and ran to a corner of the room where art supplies were stored. He grabbed paper and markers and scissors. In less than 2 minutes, he had created something. It was a circle of yellow paper. In the middle, Do-hyun had drawn a star. Around the star, he had written words in messy handwriting. Hero of the Thunder Dragon. He walked up to Vethra solemnly. Kneel down, he said. I do not think you have to kneel down. That is how you receive medals. I saw it in a movie. Vethra looked at Yuna. She was still recording. She nodded encouragingly. Slowly. Vethra bent his long legs and lowered himself to the floor. He was now at eye level with the small human boy. Do-hyun pressed the paper medal against Vethra's chest. It did not stick. He tried again. It fell to the floor. Somi, we need tape. Do-hyun called. Somi ran over with a roll of tape. Together, the two children stuck the paper medal to Vethra's uniform. It hung at an angle. It was already starting to peel at one edge. But it was attached. I now name you an official crew member of the Thunder Dragon, Do-hyun said formally. You are one of us now. I am honored, Vethra said. And he meant it. Haejin had gotten up from the floor. He walked over and hugged Vethra's leg. You did good, the small boy said simply. Vethra did not know what to do with his hands. All 4 of them. He had not been hugged in many cycles. Kaleri did not hug. It was not part of their culture. But slowly, carefully, he placed one hand on the small human's back. Thank you, he said. Yum lowered her recording device. Her smile was softer now. Less teasing. More genuine. I think that is enough adventure for one day, she said. It is almost dinner time. The children need to eat. Already? Somi complained. We were going to plan our next mission. Missions can wait. Food cannot. Your father is waiting in the cafeteria. The children groaned, but they did not argue. They started cleaning up their toys, putting things back in their proper places. Even in the middle of their imaginary adventures, they remembered their responsibilities. Vethra stood up. The paper medal crinkled on his chest. He should take it off. It was not proper for a Kalari commander to wear a child's craft project, but he did not take it off. Will you come back? Do-hyun asked as the children headed for the door. We have more missions. We could use a good laser operator. Yeah, Somi added. You make pretty good pew-pew sounds now. For an alien. Haejun just waved at him with his small hand. Vethra looked at the 3 children. They were looking back at him with hope in their eyes. Genuine hope. They actually wanted him to return. I must file my report, Vethra said. I must return to my duties with the fleet. The children's faces fell. But, Vethra continued, diplomatic relations require ongoing contact. I may need to visit this station again. For official reasons. The children's faces lit up again. Really? Do-hyun asked. For official reasons, Vethra repeated firmly. But everyone in the room knew what he really meant. The children ran to him and hugged his legs. All four of them. 2 on each leg. Vethra stood very still, surrounded by small humans, feeling completely overwhelmed and strangely peaceful. Okay, Yuna said gently. Let the commander go. You will see him again. The children released him and ran toward the cafeteria, shouting about food and adventures and the alien who made pew-pew noises. Their energy seemed endless. Their joy was contagious. When they were gone, Vethra stood alone with Yuna in the recreation bay. The cardboard box sat in the middle of the room, covered in drawings and dreams. You are very good with children, Yuna said. I have never spent time with children before, Vethra admitted. Kaleri young are raised in training centers. We do not have this. He gestured at the box. We do not play. That is sad, Yuna said simply. Vethra was quiet for a moment. Yes, he said finally. I think maybe it is. He walked toward the door, then stopped. He turned back to look at the box one more time. Why a box? He asked. You have advanced technology. You could give the children proper toys, simulations, interactive games. Why a cardboard container? Yuna thought about the question. Because it can be anything, she said. A simulation is limited. It is what someone else designed. But a box is empty. The children fill it with their own ideas, their own stories, their own worlds. It has no limits except their imagination. Vethra considered this. It made sense in a strange way. Human children are remarkable, he said. Human children are chaos, Yuna corrected with a smile. But yes, they are also remarkable. They walked together toward the airlock where Vethra's ship was docked. The corridors seemed different now, warmer, more alive. Vethra could hear sounds throughout the station, voices, laughter, life. When they reached the airlock, Yuna held out her hand. Vethra had learned this gesture. It was called a handshake, a way of saying hello or goodbye. He reached out with one of his right hands and took hers. Safe travels. Commander, Yuna said. Thank you for your hospitality, Lieutenant. He paused. Then he asked the question that had been bothering him. The recording you made. What will you do with it? Yuna's smile returned. The teasing one. I think I will keep it. For personal enjoyment. If that recording reaches Galactic Command, I would never share it officially, Yuna said. But I might show it to the children sometimes, to remind them of the day they made a Kaleri commander play pretend. Vethra sighed. There was no way to win this. The children earned that victory fairly, he admitted. Yuna laughed. They did. They really did. Vethra stepped through the airlock. Before the door closed, he looked back one more time. Tell Captain Do-hyun that I expect a full mission report next time I visit, he said. And tell Engineer Somi that her control panel designs were tactically sound. And tell Haejun, he paused. Tell Haejun he makes excellent engine noises. Yuna nodded. I will tell them. The airlock door closed. Vethra walked to his ship. The paper metal was still stuck to his chest. He still did not take it off. 2 days passed. Commander Vethra sat in his office on the flagship of the unified Galactic Fleet. His datapad was in front of him. The screen was empty. He was supposed to be writing his official report about Earth Station Horizon. He had been staring at the empty screen for 3 hours. How could he write this report? How could he explain what had happened? He had been captured. Not by weapons. Not by force. Not by any tactic that made military sense. He'd been captured by 3 small humans and an empty box. No, that was not quite right. He had been defeated, but not in a bad way. He had lost something, but he had gained something too. He had lost his professional distance. He had lost his cold Kalari logic, but he had gained something else. Something he did not have words for yet. Thel, his second officer, entered the room. "Commander, Galactic Command is requesting your inspection report. It was due yesterday. I know. They're getting impatient. I know." Thel waited. Vethra said nothing. "Is everything all right, Commander?" Thel asked finally. Vethra looked at his second officer. Thel was young, efficient, proper. He had never spent time with humans. He had never seen a cardboard box become a starship. He had never made pew-pew noises at invisible pirates. "Everything is fine," Vethra said. "I'm just thinking about what to write." The station was satisfactory, was it not? "I reviewed your preliminary notes. Everything was in order." "Yes, everything was in order." Thel nodded and left. Vethra turned back to his datapad. He began to type. "Official inspection report. Earth Station Horizon. Commander Vethra, Unified Galactic Fleet." He paused. Then he continued. "Station status. Functional. All systems operational. Crew competent and professional. Life support stable. Communication arrays working properly. No concerns regarding standard operations." This was the easy part. The facts. The numbers. The things that could be measured and recorded. Then came the difficult part. Vethra thought for a long moment. Then he typed again. "Additional observations regarding human behavior, specifically human offspring." He stopped. He deleted the line. He typed it again. He deleted it again. This was impossible. How could he write an official report about being captured by children? How could he explain to Galactic Command that he, a decorated war hero, had spent 30 minutes playing pretend with small humans? But he had to write something. The report was required. And Vethra had never failed to complete a required task. He started typing again. This time, he did not stop. Human young do not require weapons, technology, or training to neutralize threats. Given sufficient imagination and one empty container, they will establish dominance over any situation through methods that defy tactical analysis. Their primary weapon is creativity. They see the world not as it is, but as it could be. An empty box becomes a vessel. A stick becomes a weapon. A pot becomes protective equipment. They transform reality through the power of their minds. Their secondary weapon is persistence. They do not accept the word no. They do not recognize limits. When one approach fails, they try another, and another, and another, until their target gives in. Their tertiary weapon is emotional manipulation. They use large eyes and small voices to create feelings of protectiveness in their targets. Even experienced military personnel are not immune to these tactics. I was engaged by 3 human young. Kim Do-yun, age 9. Lee So-mi, age 7. Choi Hae-jin, age 5. Within 14 minutes of first contact, I had been recruited into their imaginary crew. Within 30 minutes, I was actively participating in their fictional battle scenario. I have fought in 3 wars. I have survived the siege of Nethka. I have faced enemies that would terrify most species in the galaxy. The human children were more effective than any of them. Recommended. Protocol. Do not engage. Do not make eye contact. Do not, under any circumstances, agree to play if engagement is unavoidable. Do not expect to maintain dignity. Accept defeat quickly. It is less painful than resistance. Additional note. The children provided me with a paper medal for my service. I have retained it for documentation purposes. Vethra stopped typing. He read through his report. It was not a normal report. It was strange and personal and completely unprofessional. But it was true. He submitted it. 3 days later, he received a response from Galactic High Command. The message was marked classified. It read, "Commander Vethra, your report regarding human offspring has been received and reviewed. We have decided to classify this document, not because it contains sensitive military information, but because High Command refuses to officially acknowledge that one of our most decorated field commanders was defeated by a cardboard box and 3 small humans. Your Medal of Victory has been noted. We recommend you do not display it at formal military functions. This message will be deleted from official records in 24 hours. Thank you for your service." Vethra read the message twice. Then he started to laugh. It was a strange sound. Kaleri did not laugh often, but Vethra could not stop himself. He laughed until his stomach hurt. He laughed until tears came from his large yellow eyes. When he finally stopped, he felt lighter, better, like something had changed inside him. He looked at the paper medal. It was still pinned to a board above his desk. Hero of the Thunder Dragon. The edges were wrinkled now. The tape was yellowing, but it was still there. He reached for his communication device. He typed a message to Lieutenant Park Yuna at Earth Station Horizon. "Lieutenant, please inform Captain Do-hyun that I have received official recognition for my service during the pirate battle. Please also inform him that I will be returning to your station in 2 weeks for a follow-up inspection. For official reasons, I expect the Thunder Dragon to be ready for another mission. Commander Vethra. P.S. Tell Haejin that the engine noises were very helpful." He sent the message. Then he leaned back in his chair and smiled. Somewhere, on a small station floating in the darkness of space, 3 human children would be celebrating. They would be planning new adventures. They would be dreaming up new worlds inside their cardboard box. And in 2 weeks, a Kaleri commander would join them, because that was what the humans had taught him, really. That sometimes the best thing you could do was stop fighting. Stop resisting. Stop being so serious all the time. Sometimes, the best thing you could do was play. And if anyone asked why a decorated military officer was spending time with human children and cardboard boxes, Vethra had his answer ready. "Diplomatic relations," he would say firmly, but he would be smiling when he said it. And somewhere in a classified file, locked away where no one would ever see it, the truth would remain. Never give human cubs a box. They will win every time. The end.